Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm Nathan Krotzer. I'm a real estate agent with RE/MAX Pinnacle. I have a real estate team here in Wrightsville, office on Locust Street. And Tara has been a professional who we have referred clients to in the past, and in discussion with some other clients, kind of had this idea to do a downsizing seminar, invite our client base out. And we opened it to the public, of course, as well. And we aren't here to hard sell you on anything. Be glad to give you my business card if you desire, but we do this more for our clients. We like to, be of value to our clients. And part of the way we do that is to introduce them to professionals like Tara here, and her business is called Next Step Downsizing. And we're going to let Tara basically present here and hopefully give you some nice tips to walk away with. And I think there's also, maybe you do this all the time, but free consultation, correct? Okay.
Sure.
So I'll let you talk more about that and
Sure.
introduce yourself a little more.
Thank you all for coming again. As Nathan said, my name is Tara Reinhold, and I have a company called Next Step Downsizing. And basically, I work with families in various stages of that. And by that, what I mean is I work with some families that are right now in the process of a move. So they may be going to retirement communities. They may be moving just to smaller one-level houses that they're buying or renting. Some families are moving in with other family members. Then I also have some folks that I work with that have kind of said they see a move in their future. It may not be right now, but in the next couple of years, I don't think that I'm going to be able to stay where I am, and I want to start that process now of going through some things and starting to get rid of some stuff. And then I also work with a third group who have said, I really want to stay where I am as long as possible, but I'm starting to see things getting a little bit more cluttered. I don't have as much space or it's getting harder for me to find things. So I work with them about just organizing the space that they have now. So before we get started, the one thing that I like to do, I never really liked this in school when this happened, but I'm going to ask you guys if we can have a little bit of audience participation. I think it's important to find out a little bit about where you guys are, what you're looking for, and where you are in your process. Because there's a lot of similarities between those situations that I described, but then there's also some things that are different. Somebody that's actively in a move right now, how do I do this very quickly? And somebody that says, I have a couple of years or some time to work on stuff. So the first question I have is one that I just find really interesting. And anybody that wants to participate, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I do have a little treat. So I like to find out first who in the room has been in their home the longest. So I've been in my place for 22 years. I'm sure that somebody can beat 22 years.
I've been in mine since 1955.
Ooh, wow. Anybody else? All right, we have you get to choose a chocolate.
Now you know why I want to declutter.
Well, and I know personally for myself, even in the number of years that I've been in there, how much things, even just over a year, 2 years, and then you look at the amount of time that you've been there, how long things go through. So the next part of that is kind of figuring out where you guys are in your process, or more what brought you here. So is there anybody like at this point that is actively in a move? They've said, we're ready to leave, we're looking for something, we're doing something like that. So we have, okay. Is your move within like this coming year, or you're just saying you hope that is the plan? Okay. We have fingers crossed. That's great. Is there somebody saying probably in the next few years it might be something that we're considering?
I think, sure.
Yeah. And then for other ones, right now you're maybe just looking to do a little bit of organization within your own home, start to go through some things. Okay, great. So we've got folks in different areas. Okay, so the first thing that is always the case is, I'm sure even for me, is knowing where to start. You have this huge house, this huge project. Where do you start? And again, that was part of why I asked where you were in your process, because for those of you that don't have to have immediate things done, you can kind of pick and choose how you want to do it. So basically, I like to have folks kind of get a picture of your house in your mind and think about the room that you think kind of bothers you the most or has become the most disorganized. Now, if thinking about that room or space is too much, because sometimes that could be an attic, sometimes that could be a basement, a bedroom. If that's too much, wow, where do I even start with that? Then I say, okay, in that room, maybe pick a closet. Okay, so you have a closet in that room. And even if that's too much, and you're like, nah, I'm not ready, even just a drawer, just some place to start to get a feel for how this is going to work. Because the one thing I will say, as you start to go through organizing and decluttering, we're going to get a little bit of a mess before we get it better. So if you don't want big to start and just want to try this with something small, then I'd say pick a closet or a drawer, okay? Does everybody have an idea of some place in there? I think we all do. Mine's my attic. That could always use. Everybody's got that space involved? Okay. So now basically what you're going to do in that space is you're going to break things down into categories. Okay? There's going to be things in that space that you're still going to want to keep. No matter whether I'm here, whether I move, this is stuff that I want to hold on to. So that'll be a space. There's going to be a space where this is good stuff. I like this, but I haven't used it, probably not going to use it, but somebody could benefit from that. And that's going to be a group. And then that group's going to break down into a couple different sections, which I'll talk to you guys a little bit about that later. And then there's going to be a pile of things I don't see my family wanting. It's not in very good shape, so I don't really see I'm going to be able to donate that. That's going to be find a way to get rid of it, garbage, recycle type pile. Okay? Is everybody following along so far? So you're going to separate. Now you can see why I'm saying, so when you take everything out of your closet that was nicely packed in this closet that you can shut the door, all of a sudden you have a little bit of a mess. But that is kind of what happens to start with that. If you don't want to be pulling everything, especially if it's a big space, if you don't want to be pulling everything out of the closet at one time, pick one of those categories that you want to focus on. If there's things in there that nobody's going to want, it's not in good shape anymore, I just have to get rid of that, you can focus on that. Or if there's things that you're not necessarily going to want, but somebody else might, you can focus on that. But the best way to do it, I truly believe, is if you pull things out, organize it into those piles, and then you can decide what to do with those things. Putting back the things you're going to keep and then focusing on that. Okay, so going to kind of work on both ends because getting rid of things that I know nobody wants, and the things that I'm going to keep are probably the two easiest. Some of the ones in the middle about, okay, I don't want it, what do I do with it? That has a little bit more discussion to it, okay? So let's start on both ends because those are a little easier. So you've got all of this stuff that you need to get rid of. Again, if it's, let's see, what are things from your attic that are broken, or just things that nobody's going to want, old clothes that are torn and ripped. And if it's just small things and over a longer period of time, I recommend people utilize their garbage that they have now. If when you're starting to do this and to clean and get organized, if you can time it that you do it on a day right before or right around when your garbage comes, you can really take advantage of putting that stuff out, and then it's gone immediately. And it sounds silly, but I just think that if it will make you feel good because you're going to see progress happen. And I also recommend, too, you'd be surprised, everybody's got some different garbage disposal companies. Many of them will even take some larger items. So if you go online, or in multiple bags, too, if you go online, you can find out how much yours take. Sometimes you can just put some of those larger items out. Sometimes you need to get the tags and things. But most of the time, on a regular basis, if you have time, each week you can be putting extra things out there. Time is your biggest asset, and that is the one thing that I would say. This process is not easy, even if it's just small things. And I think it takes time, it takes physical energy. It can be an emotional drain too as well if you're deciding what to do with things that you've had for years and years. So the earlier that you can start this, and most of the group, forgive me, doesn't have a move that they have set right now. So I love that you guys are here and saying we want to start this now to make this easier whether we're moving now or not, I think you'll also feel better about your homes in general too when things get more organized. So that's someplace, to utilize your own garbage things. There's also great, places, if you have a larger amount than that, and especially as you get closer to your move time, you may not be able to put everything out for the garbage at once. So there's different garbage places in the community that will actually come. If you pile a big spot, they'll come and take things away from you. Some people.
I put things out in my alley.
Yeah.
A couple days before, if the weather's good.
Yeah.
And people just take it.
Yeah. You would be amazed. If you put the word free on things, you would be amazed. Because it is tough. Even when we get to donations, especially if it's things like furniture, couches, there's certain things that even some of the donation places won't take. So if let your neighbors know, hey, I don't need this anymore. My family doesn't want it. Do you know somebody that could use this if they want to come pick it up? But we'll definitely get into more of that. I don't want it, how can I get rid of it type stuff. So that's kind of the stuff to throw away. And then I'm not going to do too much about the stuff to keep yet. Maybe I'll talk because most of you are going to be in your places for a while now, so we won't focus on that. So we'll go right to the area. Okay, this is stuff that I don't want anymore, but it's still in good shape. What do we do? And I would say that actually can probably go into 3 categories in itself. So for those of you that have family items and things like that, separating that out, does anybody in my family want this? Is it going to be something, then you'll have the stuff that the family doesn't necessarily want, but it's still in really good shape. What do we do with that? And then there's stuff that, that maybe we want to try and sell. It's in that good of shape, we might be able to sell something. And then there's something that, it wouldn't maybe have much value if I'm going to sell it. Where can I donate things? Okay. So let's start with, this is some family things. What do I do with that? I would encourage you to reach out, as you're going through this process, to reach out to extended family, kids, grandkids, things like that, and say, I'm going through this process. If there are things from the house that and I'll be curious feedback from the group on this. If there's things in the house that you want, can we talk about this? I will tell you one thing that I'm experiencing more and more of is that kids aren't necessarily taking as much stuff as what you'd hope that they would. So I caution you as you're going through this process to start the discussions earlier, because I've had a lot of families think, wow, my daughter's going to take my entire collection of this. And when she brings it up, she says, I just don't have the space for it. Or a lot of times they're not as big of collectors of things as what you may be. And so start to have those discussions now, whether it's, if your family's local, have everybody, in and say, are there things that you want? Just so you get a sense of what they would say, wow, I would really love this if you don't. Or, what, I don't necessarily want something like that. If you do have big collections of things, and it really does make you feel bad if they say that they don't want that, what I encourage you to do is pick maybe 1, 2 pieces out of that, your most special things, and say, how about 2 of these? Or can you pick 2 of them that you think would be your favorite? Oftentimes you'll find they'd be able to do that, but not necessarily take the big piece of furniture or something like that. If your family's not from around here, but they would still like to participate in that program, technology is wonderful. I've had lots of families take pictures of things, because you don't always remember what's there. So you can take a picture and send it out to everybody, and that way they can see, hey, I'm not going to take this with me, or I don't need this anymore. Is this something that you might like? And then finding a way, as you get information from everybody, you can kind of mark that stuff, and say, okay, Jane wants this, or John said he'd really like that. And then you kind of have a sense, okay, I'm taking this, the family's wanting this, this is what's left then. I'm doing a lot of talking. Is everybody kind of following along? Have you guys started that process at all, where anybody been talking with family about, hey, does anybody want anything? Or we're still kind of early on? Yeah, how's that? Have you been are they saying, no, we like it? Or it's a lot of, they do, oh, see, you're very live. That's great. That's great.
But I'm to the point, like,
good.
if one of my kids says, I really like that, I'd like to have that, I'm like,
Take it now.
exactly.
Take it now. Yeah. And that's smart too. And that's part of why, as they're, helping with that, yeah, if you can, it'll start to clear things out for you yeah, once again, starting earlier, going from there. Okay.
You have a question?
Oh, yes.
Do you have any suggestions on initiating it? I have a problem getting started.
Oh, just with your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that is very, very common because it feels very like such a big project. Is there a small space that you can say, okay, I can tackle this today? And that's what I would challenge you to do, is think about, don't look at the whole project as a whole. I tell my kids this a lot of times too. They get very overwhelmed when they get this massive amount of homework. And I'm like, guys, that's not gonna, all that does is it makes you not want to do it because you're so overwhelmed by it. Pick a small space, because I'll tell you what, even if it's the tiniest space, it is such a great feeling when you say, wow. And like I said, find, whenever your garbage day is, or whenever you're going to be someplace that you're going to be near a donation center, where you can just I'm going by there anyway, I'm going to pack up some things and I'm going to drop it off. And you'll find once you start, you'll want to do it more because it's going to look better, it's going to feel better. And so I'd say just find something small. Can you picture like a small space? That's what I said. I'm not kidding. I'm so not kidding. Anybody have junk drawers in their house? I have one. Everybody's got that. Everybody's got that. Start there. And what's going to happen is as you start to do these small spaces, it'll also give you bigger spaces to deal with the bigger areas. I think that's hard when there's a lot of stuff that has accumulated. You're like, I don't even have any place to go with this so that I can clear this. So just pick something small. Like I know everybody, boxes of books. Anybody? I'm a reader, so I have boxes of books. Yes, our libraries would love those. Even Salvation Army and oh my goodness, there's so many places. And I have a big pile of them, so that's how I know. And if I clear that out, then I usually bring more books back in. But don't do that. That's the thing. That is the thing not to do. When you're clearing things out, don't bring more in.
While we're talking about books and y'all have those to give,
Yes.
Reach will be collecting books for the children over the summer.
Wonderful.
We'll take 'em all.
Wonderful.
Who is
See?
that?
It's a community of Redline, Eastern,
Okay.
Beautiful.
and they collect them to give to children over the summer.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Where do we donate?
where can we
look it up.
donate them? You can donate them at Trinity UCC Church, the Methodist Church in Pelham. This church does too.
Does it?
So I think you
I think
can.
Hope does too.
In fact, in
I
2
know
months
Vicky's
we'll
been
be
doing that.
collecting those.
So
Okay.
that's only children's books.
Do you have does that Reach have a Facebook page?
Yes, we do.
look it up.
Okay, I was gonna say maybe, because I do our Facebook page for this church, so maybe I could take it off of yours and share it on
And
here,
connect it
on
here.
our Facebook page for the
Absolutely.
church. Okay, that's good.
So anyway, my kids did that. We have a box sitting there with books, so it's just getting them out of the house. Like they just did it this weekend. Like they cleaned off the bookshelf.
Well, and that brings us to another good thing, because oftentimes it's even just the idea of when do I have time to get things to someplace too. And that's also when you can, the internet is a wonderful thing if you have access to that or can help, because that you can actually, places like the Salvation Army, the Purple Heart, all of those places take things like this, okay? And you can actually go online on their website and schedule a pickup. So you actually don't have to be at the house. You can just go on and say, depending on when they're in your area, and I shouldn't say that. I've only had, and actually I don't even know, I was gonna say I've only had one client, I don't know if they would come to, because he was really kind of far out, but I think they would come, it just wasn't very often. So depending on your location. Some places they can come once a week. They'll have scheduled times once a week. Others it might be a couple of weeks. So that's the only downside doing that, having somebody come pick it up at your house, is you might have to wait a little bit. I love the idea of getting it out of there right away. But if physically you're not able to, or you're not in a place where you can drop things off, I really do. I recommend, or you have a really large load of things. I mean, I've had folks that we've had 40 boxes and so many bags of just things to be donated. And it was too much for us to take, or it would take a lot of trips for us to do it. So we scheduled, they came the next week, and then they gave the itemized, this is what we took. So you have it for tax purposes. So that's another way if it kind of starts to pile up on you. I'm jumping around a little bit, but this is
They
great.
don't take large furniture. They don't take furniture stuff.
Right. There's certain things that's furniture's tough. Furniture is really, really tough. Yeah, because couches and things they won't. If it is tables, as long as they're in good shape, lamps, some electronics if they work, and
When you send them to auctions,
yeah. And now you're getting into
see, that's when if you
Will
can't
they
get
pick
rid of
up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they pick up at a price.
this is so. Okay, we'll ease into it now. The toughest category is I have things that I want to sell. What do I do with those? You know, they still have some value. And that's where you have to make this. We actually started an interesting discussion before everybody got here about yard sales. You know, that's mixed feelings. Some do it depending on their area, others don't. Auctions are kind of the same way. I get mixed feelings. Some people have had great success with them. Others have been a little disappointed in how it's gone. Because auctions, the people that go to auctions, they go because they are looking for bargains. And those of us that are trying to sell things at auction are trying to get things for it.
And it all depends on the weather that day.
There is just so much who's there. Yeah, it's a great way to get rid of things quickly,
I don't
though.
know how to do the internet, but I've had friends who've done very well on the internet, if you know how to sell on the internet.
There is upsides and downsides to that as well. Yes, there are, and the nice thing is, I will say, there are some auction houses that utilize the internet, and I think that's great. If you find places where your things will not only be in their facility, but they'll put it online. Now, they'll only do that for certain high-end things, right? But you can. I caution, I have,
Safety issues.
thank you. I didn't know how to say that. That's my worry about doing that. And you have to figure out how to get it to them.
Well, you stipulate they come and pick it up.
If
Be
you want it
careful,
coming to your
right?
house,
Be careful.
spring
Be
is
careful,
very,
please. Please.
I won't do it, but I've had friends do it.
Yes, and I encourage if anybody's going to do it. I have talked with one of my clients just recently. He was determined to do this, and we've set it up that he will only have somebody come to the house if there'll be somebody else there as well. And even then, I'm still cautious about it, but
All you have to do is say, I'll meet you at the Pelham Township Police Department.
that's good. Yes, if it's smaller items to meet someplace is wonderful.
Some of the police stations, I know Spring does have 2 parking spaces just for that purpose.
Ah, that I didn't know. Thank you. That's great.
Labeled. and
That
a
is just for
camera.
that. That's great. Yes.
Sold stuff on Craigslist that I met the person at Turkey Hill.
Yeah, just someplace, instead of having them come to your house. Yeah, I like that because you know that somebody that's looking to take advantage of you won't meet you there then. If you say that's where it's going to be. Thank you very much. I did not know that resource. That's wonderful. That's wonderful, but it is. I mean, and the nice thing about the internet is there's places you can go to list things, and it doesn't cost you anything. I know I'm part of the next door neighborhood thing. People list stuff all the time, so you know it's somebody local. I've had folks do things on, I haven't done that, but Facebook Marketplace, that's another place where they've gone. So it's local people that would be able to come and meet with you. But yeah, but then you kind of have to, the tough part about that is you have to keep track of it. You're responsible then for getting it there. It's a little trickier to do that sometimes. So that's why I know you brought up about the auction. That could be a good way if you go into it being okay with whatever you get for it. You say, okay, this is sort of in between. I could donate it or try and sell it. I'm going to try and sell it and be happy if I get a little something for it.
There's a lot of consignment shops that do that too.
Yes, exactly.
I've found at the consignment shops, they used to take them, but now they charge you to put them in, the ones I've found.
Interesting, yeah. And I know there's one over in Mountville that it's kind of nice if you have something and you're curious whether they would take it. I can give you that information too. If you take a picture, contact the gentleman that's in charge. If you take a picture and say, I have this, is this something that you could, you would take into your shop? And then he'll let you know kind of what he thinks about that, which is kind of nice. So you're not taking things there. He's the only one that I had found so far that has done that.
He's being a little bit particular too.
It is, yeah.
You win some of them and they have.
It's jam-packed, yeah. And you also want to watch too, okay, if you take something to a consignment shop, if it doesn't sell, what happens? Not a big deal if it's something small, but if you're putting a piece of furniture or something like that, then are you responsible to take it back out, which is usually the case. Yeah.
I came across the thing where in my family, my grandmother had a Hoosier cabinet.
Mm.
I learned to roll dough on there. I learned to do everything with my grandmother in there. So I didn't want to part with that.
Yeah.
So, and of course, my kids don't want it.
That's-
My daughter does send me a box of groceries, I'll put it together, whatever's in there. But her favorite
Times
thing
are
to make for dinner
changing.
is reservations.
This is more the norm than not, hun.
It's
That's.
never gonna be used like the way I loved it.
Oh.
So instead of trying to sell it or whatever,
Yeah.
I want folks to be able to enjoy it, past history, because it was made like 1901.
Wow.
And if you go to the antique place on Princess Street,
On Princess. Okay.
the big an industrial place where
Yes.
they show everything,
Yeah.
they take some of those things
Yes.
to
Yes.
share with. Now, that can either become a part of their collection or you can have it on loan. But to me, I'd like to be a part of their collection.
Absolutely. And I think there are, each of us probably has things in your house that are more like that. Things that are older that have more value. And for that stuff, I would suggest talking to some folks about that. Like you said, whether it's somebody at an auction house, if you're looking to sell it, that could do something online where you might get more bids, or some of the antique local dealers. There's so many of them in the area now too.
Another place is the Historical Society in York.
I think this place actually has
It's part of that.
something to do.
Yeah.
They are all
It's the industrial museum.
Yeah, the Industrial Museum.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That's a wonderful place. Yeah.
That's where I would like it.
That's great. That's great. That's a great idea of what to do with something like that, because I think that is one of the hardest things. This is stuff that's really meaningful to you, and it's hard to hear that the family isn't going to use it or want it. And I think that,
And then if you end up with an in-law that don't like you, they're gonna
oh no.
sell it and buy cigarettes.
It's a big problem. Are there other specific questions that people have as far as items, or, because we kind of jumped around a little bit. I'm trying to think. Oh, I have something then too, but you go ahead.
Address emotional connections, you know what I mean? It's hard, you can't get rid of it.
I know. And it is. And can you give an example of something that's tough to get rid of?
Oh, just
Everything?
everything.
Everything? Yeah. Well, and I think, go ahead.
I have family pictures.
Yes.
That's like 3 and 4 generations back. I don't know the people. Nobody in my family knows them. They're in these golded frames, and so they don't really look well on the walls these days.
Yeah.
But you hate to throw that family picture in the garbage.
I know. I
So
still
what do you
have
do
them
with
at my house. Yeah.
It kind of feels like sacrilege.
Yeah, and I've seen different things. Now, I haven't had anybody actually try this, but sometimes they've taken photographs of the photographs and made sort of an album or a collage or some sort of genealogy. Maybe you're not keeping the massive one of that, but you're taking a picture and condensing it down so you don't feel like you're completely, outside of that. That is one of probably the toughest ones to do.
Excuse me, do you know the names of the people and who they are? That's genealogy. So that might be at the Historical Society too, like take pictures of that with the names and if anyone's doing a genealogy search.
Okay.
Sometimes they will take the pictures too. If you don't want them.
Okay. Great.
This is going to defeat your lecture.
No. Please don't.
So at my parents' house, they were from the Depression, and they kept everything.
Yeah.
They kept all our toys from the 1960s.
Yeah.
And so I found a Pez dispenser, olive oil, and I put it on eBay, and I thought, well, let's just try it. That sold for $400.
Yeah. I was gonna. It's.
And I went to work.
I was going to tell you, old toys. We're going to get back to that a little bit.
I just had a metal lunchbox full of Pez. I threw it in the trash.
Yeah.
So when you think it's trash,
It's.
perhaps
You're right.
is it? You could check. before you throw it out.
Was it in the original container as well?
No.
So it was just the.
It was a little used and scuffed. It had no feet on the bottom of the Pez. Apparently.
Wow.
That's really old.
It.
So whatever.
So are bidding on that, like that's almost like an auction with eBay, people get into
Right.
wanting
Different
to get
collectible.
rid of it.
Different. Your
But
toys.
just for the value. Don't, because eBay, you start a cottage industry, then you got to get the box, you got to ship it. It's just a lot.
But you are
Even the
right
value.
though. You are right though, and maybe it's maybe worth taking a minute to talk about some things that like that folks have found. I know I've seen that you don't, but that definitely hold on to. I mean, there are some. I'm sure I have any coins, very old edition books. Part of what collectibles, things that were kind of important at the time. Local things can sometimes bring higher. Any sort of hunting gear, stuff like that, can usually hold its value. Duck decoys was something. Yeah. I want to come back to the emotional piece of that too, but it is part of why we're fearful about getting rid of things, and I recognize that because you're like, wow, but what if this could be? And it is tough because it's all about will somebody buy it? And I don't personally handle selling things for folks. It's tricky, that's not, it's a lot, and there's a lot of places that do handle that. So I try and connect my folks with people that I've worked with that can give them a good idea about stuff. But it is worth taking the time to not just take a drawer and throw everything away. I think that's why when I talk about actually doing the process early so that you can sort through things, so that you see the Pez dispenser or you see, something like that. And if in doubt, hold on to it. I'm not saying you have to get rid of everything, but if something, but you are right, there may be some things that somebody out there would spend a lot for that we may or may not. Yeah, but I think it is good, a good reminder that if we take enough time to do it, you might be able to find some of these things like that too.
I limit myself to like how long, like if I put something on like Marketplace or something.
Yes.
Like once it gets to the 45 days, like this didn't sell, then I usually stop because I don't have any attic or basement or
to store
space,
things,
so
yeah.
I don't want to pay to store that. That seems silly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sell it.
Have you had some success on Marketplace?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I had more success on Craigslist, but don't in the past. But now Marketplace, yeah, pretty well. I usually find like as soon as you put something up, you're usually going to sell it in a certain time period. And then if you boost it like halfway, it's like a 45-day period. So if you boost it halfway through that, and then it looks like it's at the top of the list again, then you'll usually get
spark some more interest.
So usually if it's going to sell, it will sell in that period usually. I mean, I have had things that I've let sit and then tried to sell them again, and then they sold right away where they didn't sell before. But like, and the only thing I did find is sometimes people, you really have to watch people because they will try to gyp you or manipulate you or,
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to.
Always be cautious in a lot of things with the internet. I mean, that's most definitely. Just to go back to touching on your topic of how do you get rid of sentimental things. And part of why I asked about what you were keeping is, is it just a lot of individual things, or is it I have a bunch of these and I just can't get rid of these? And if it's the second, where I have a lot of, these were my kids this, or my wife collected this, or something like that, I encourage my families to kind of, like I said, with your family, if they can't take it all, hold on to a couple of things, and then see if there is some place that you can give, or depending on what it is, somewhere that will give you a good feeling about where it's going. I think your example was very good. Now yours is a big item, but I think we can see that even in small items.
And your idea of taking pictures,
Yeah.
man, that really opened up a lot for me, because I'll take a picture of that fish that he has hanging on the wall.
Exactly.
And say, bye-bye, fish.
Yeah.
Honey, you want to see that picture of that fish?
It's right there with you. Yeah, and you can put a lot of that.
Wonderful
Yeah.
idea to take pictures and then get rid of the stuff.
Yeah.
That's good for insurance purposes too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that would help my son too. Like I have a son, he's 11-year-old. He's
sit in that.
autistic and he loves to collect.
Yeah, that's really challenging.
He's starting to let go of things more. think
Good.
he's, unfortunately, because he's gotten into electronics a little bit, so now he's kind of like
That's a whole different story. Yes, I can appreciate that one. Yeah, but no, it absolutely. So it's still with him, so that he can look back at it. It's kind of like our vacations and things, but now it's with our stuff as we have to shift out of that.
Emery, don't you be calling my husband and tell him I'm
You're getting rid of the fish? Oh no, that's true. What stays in the room, what's said in the room stays in the room. That's right. Well, but that's a whole, you've stumbled on a whole nother thing. If you and your spouse are doing this together, and one of you says, I'm ready to get rid of things, and the other one says that they are not. And that's a whole new challenge, and that's another, kind of emotional piece to things. And it takes a lot of compromise, and the process will go slower too. But you use some of the same things. Okay, my husband collects tools. Oh my goodness gracious, does he collect tools? And so, okay, instead of having 10 of these, can we choose 2? And then all of a sudden it goes like that. And so kind of compromising the same way. And I saw a hand over here, I'm sorry. Were you raising your hand, hon? I'm sorry.
That was the funny thing. I was into eBay quite a bit there for a while, but got busy elsewhere with grandkids.
Yeah.
But I would sell anything that wasn't nailed down. I told my husband, well, I found some merino wool socks that were never opened. He's great for buying things that never
Uh-huh.
And I put them on eBay and sold them. And one hunting season, he says, where are those merino socks I had? I sold them on eBay. What, like those pants that had tags that I never wore? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have this amount of time. If it's not used, then this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
Expiration date.
I like to say if you want to bring one in, then one has to go out too, especially if it's a lot of stuff. If you really like to that's fun. And some people, it's a hobby, it's a pastime. I know a lot of folks that go to auctions actually have a lot of fun doing that. And they get this or they get that, and all of a sudden now we've got way lots of stuff. So I encourage them. It's a social. I get that. Something out, donate it, you sell it, give it to somebody if you want something else back in. Because if not, it's. Yeah, hunting season is fun, isn't it? We always seem to go get new stuff come that new. I get that. Yeah. It holds its value. That's the only piece of advice I'll give you. It does. I don't know.
We're going to her house for lunch. She has 500 pounds of deer meat.
Oh, wow.
What is it called? Moose meat or whatever.
Colorado that he didn't use.
I have a client that's trying to sell a full freezer, like upright. I'll get your number if you got enough of those. Okay. I was like, hey, he'll be really happy. I found somebody.
We had coins in the coffee can under the workbench.
Yeah.
So we sorted through them.
Okay.
For the oldest Indian head penny thing.
Yes.
And then
heard about wheat pennies too. That was something else.
Dimes or whatever, the silver.
Yeah.
So my husband collects coins, so he went through another sort and valued it. So, and we could have spent it as a dime. So there's the value of that. Then there's the coin value. It was, at the time, it was better to melt it down.
Yep.
Was it? Interesting.
All the silver spoons and silver serving things. I said, are you sure we're going to melt these down? He says, nobody. I said, the rich people, they eat. No.
Not
rich
anymore.
People don't even eat that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Melted down was the better price. You got to watch the market, but it's
sure.
better.
Yeah.
We took our dimes when my dad passed. He had lots of dimes from the 1800s.
Wow.
And we took them up to Steinmetz, and
That's
he said,
not worth it anymore. Steinmetz, yeah.
He said, these are worth 400% more than what they would be for an old date. Dumped them and took the cash.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a good deal.
I was gonna. That's a good place to. If you have coins and things and want to find out what to do.
There's one in Lancaster, there's one in York.
Yeah.
Go to the York one, because his dad's not very nice.
You guys are good sources of. I'm gonna have to get your cards. They're good sources of reference, aren't they? Okay, go here, not there. Yeah.
Another thing is jewelry that you think is junk. Because I had a watch that I took in one time, and I got rid of the band to it. It was given to me by my grandmother. Like, and it wasn't a roll, but anyway, they're like, "What did you do with the band?" The watch itself, and that was probably 40 years ago. They said was worth about $1,000. If I would have had the band, it would have been, I threw away a really good band.
Wow.
And where did you take them?
To a jeweler. I think I wanted a new face or something put on it, but I bought my like 1099 band to put on, and threw the other one away.
This is what I love about discussions like this, and I encourage you to utilize your network in your community, your churches, whatever organizations. Hey, I'm doing this. Has anybody experienced or had this to sell, or where have you had success? Because each area is a little bit different too. Yeah.
And regardless that my best friends here tell me they're coming, they are take advantage of a friend that wants to come and help.
Oh, you're like leading me each place I want to go. That's
Mom,
you are so right.
Like, Joan always says to me, and they both say, "Well, why don't you have a yard sale?" Well, Joan says, "I'll come and help you."
It's a lot more fun when you have somebody to do
when
it
they
with.
Get there, I look in that room and I go, no, let's just have a glass of wine and a cookie.
But you are exactly right, guys. And whether it is your friends, whether it's your family, I actually had a good friend. They're not moving, but he is kind of starting to go through some stuff. So instead of asking for birthday presents and Christmas presents, he says, hey, we're having a family work day. Can everybody come over? And then they tackle a room in the house. He had everybody go through the basement. And then it's also a time, it's fellowship. You can be with your family, but you can have things saying, hey, I'm not really wanting this anymore. Does anybody want it? If you do, you can take it now. So you can get some help doing that stuff if your family's local. I know that's not the case. A lot of families are a little bit more separated now, location-wise. But if you have that, or same thing with friends. Hey, let's have some dinner together. Can you lend me a hand with this? Because it is a lot more fun to get started if somebody can be there with you. I think we hit almost. Oh, go please.
I have Boyd's bears that I used to collect.
Okay.
I have thousands of dollars invested in them.
Yeah.
I no longer want them, but I just can't give them away and sell them for $2 or $3.
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
Yeah, again, you can try and do and put things online and do it in batches or something like that. Does any of your family want any of them? No, you could little batches of here for the holidays.
Said maybe a few here, they're girly or whatever for the daughter.
Yeah. What would be the best case scenario for you? Are you looking to sell them and just kind of want to make back the money that you spent on them? That is the hardest part, and that's where that's why I hate talking about selling things, because I think we spend so much money on things that we love, that we collected this over the years. I love it. That's why I spent the money on it. Some baskets and things are sort of the same way. Hummels, I know my mother-in-law collected those. The family spent quite a bit. There's some of those that are valuable, depending on who's trying to finish a collection. But more often than not, some of that stuff isn't going to bring you what you necessarily hoped for. So talk to people, though. I mean, there may be, somebody that's got, some of the collectible places say, I've got these. What do you think? But I don't have some place that I can tell you that I can say, take them here and you'll get what you paid for. Because, yeah. I mean, we can research it, but
Yeah, I have
that's
quite a bit.
yeah. So it's figuring out for you what's the best scenario for you. Would it be the family continuing with it, but that doesn't sound like that's maybe, yeah. You can go to my picture thing and donate them to some kids that have lost some things.
Yeah.
I was taught a lesson about that a little bit. When my grandmother passed, there was a lot of stuff that she had that some of the family didn't want, but was really struggling with getting rid of it. So basically what my husband and I said, we had some space in our attic, and we said, okay, we're not going to get rid of this stuff yet. We're going to let everything sit for a minute. And we put it all up in our attic. About 3 months later, I think it wasn't very long, my aunt called and said she had a friend whose family lost, their house flooded, and they basically lost everything. They had a young kiddo, and it was amazing. This family came to the house and just felt this blessing that we had kept this stuff, and they just yes, it was around the holiday time, so they took all the Christmas stuff, and so I think that's part of it. If we can't find a way that we can necessarily get the money back and our family doesn't necessarily want it, can we find some place that makes us feel good seeing it go there? Because it still makes me feel weird.
That if somebody will appreciate it the way I did.
Yeah.
Are these toys? Aren't they?
No, they're like designer bears.
Oh,
They're plush, but they're like
well, you know,
decorative with
I
like
just got
dresses.
rid of a lot of plush things like that. The hospital, in Hershey Hospital, they'll take them and they pass them out to children.
That's a great.
They're
Yeah,
not
and
really
like St.
toy
Jude's filled
toys.
with kids.
They're more collectibles.
They're like almost like a figurine
Yeah.
with the fur on top and the arms move, and then they have like little outfits. I mean, a child would probably play with them, but I don't know if they would.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of
Rate them.
for a real small child, I know
Wouldn't
they're
work.
Not good.
Choking.
Yeah.
Or even around the holidays sometimes for folks. Yeah, it's tough because you're right, they're toys, but they're not. I mean, that's.
But if you have anything like that, because I got rid of a lot of plush that were given to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think more and more people aren't collecting things. And I think that's why if people were still collectors, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
When I collected them, everybody collected them.
Yeah.
But now,
It's just not anymore.
the bottom of the
And who-
I can't say it.
Minimalism. Yes. Yeah. And, if it's just, how many of those, if it's just that one thing, and maybe something will come back around again. It's not saying that you have to necessarily get rid of everything unless you're really out of space or you're moving to a space where you don't. And if it's, that's just one of those items that you say, I don't want to get rid of. I think I'm going to hold on to that and hope that the kids maybe will take it. Or maybe it comes back around or you find somebody that does collect them. It is it's everything. It's just finding that one person that wants to fill their collection or likes them as much as you do. Yeah.
Well, one thing I found when I was young, my grandmother was always trying, when I die, I want to give you my, I forget what it was called. It's still out there, this pattern's still out there, and I thought, God, that's got up. China, pink and green, desert rose, I think it was.
Yeah.
And my mother said, it was her mother-in-law, she said, just tell her you don't like it.
Mm.
And I said, no, I wouldn't do that to her. I'll take it and I'd throw it away if I have to. But you know what? It grew on me.
Yeah. You'd be surprised.
I never use it, but
Sure.
I love it because you don't use China anymore.
Yeah, China's tough now
I
too.
love it now because it reminds me of my grandmother, and I remind my kids of that. You might not think, but
Our feelings change as
as
we
they get
age.
older, I can see they are
Yeah.
wanting more.
Which is what, and you can tell, you said they're wanting to take some of
Yeah,
your
they-
stuff
they
too.
want something that was, their great grandfathers.
Yeah.
And with 4 kids, I can certainly
Spread it,
Spread
spread
out.
the wealth. Yeah.
spread the wealth,
Yeah.
spread the junk.
What about trains? Lionel trains?
Those
Oh,
those good. Yep, those are good.
Where? Where do you think?
You sell those on eBay overnight.
Can you? Okay.
Even at the auctions, that's one of those things that actually
You have
they
boxes
sell.
that they came in, big.
They're not selling as good as what they used to.
And there's different train shops too.
Trains are still-
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is one, yeah, that's definitely. Lionel trains.
There's every year, but they have it over at the on Sherman Street. There's a fire hall, and they have like a big show where you can trade and buy and sell.
Oh.
But I don't know. I guess you could contact that. I think it's a fire hall.
It's a Commonwealth fire hall,
Thank you.
top of Sherman Street.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I have some that were my dad's, and he was born 1925.
Yeah, you
The
want
big
to.
trains. in
That's
the
good.
boxes. I still have those,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to find out what they're worth. I mean, you can go online, but unless, they say, well, do you have the little flag man, or do you have the little flag? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So unless you can go to a dealer.
I know there's a train shop in Red Lion.
I was gonna say, eBay is a good source to find out what the value is.
Sure. For
I have
some.
gumball machines.
Yeah.
They're worth 5 cents in the dollar. And when a lot of people have them for sale, and you look a couple weeks later, it's still for sale.
Yeah.
That tells me there's no market.
That's exactly, I was going to say, yeah, just you have to look more than once. That's the thing. If you want to find out using that as a guide, exactly, get on and look and then check back. Has it sold? And if it's still there, then you kind of know somebody's not, that's not necessarily priced right. It's a great example.
Buy stuff. Where do they look? They look on eBay.
That's right, to see what it
Well,
is.
I say $100 for it, the guy says, everybody's selling it for $50.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't want it, you know.
No, you know, you have to pay eBay to put your stuff on there. And after you sell so much stuff, you're handed a 1090 or whatever it's called for income tax purposes. So you have to
Because it's become a
careful about
business.
what you're
Yeah,
doing
people have
there,
made it a business.
because it can raise or lower your income bracket.
Yeah. But that would be.
Never gonna lower your income bracket. But yeah.
But you're right.
My son does that all the time.
But that is a good way if you want to look on there and find out what the type of train that you have is selling for, and then talk to somebody locally, whether it be an auction house or there's a train dealer in Red Lion too, I think. I'll find out. I'll get your number.
Facebook or Google it.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to donate trains, the Sonic Village, they have a big train like display up there.
Yeah.
It's really big and it's open to the public and everything. So they would.
Hey, I never
probably
thought of
take
that. My husband works at Mennonite Homes. They have one.
I was going to say almost all of them have them. Yeah. I know Brethren Village does too. I think each of them, because there's so many people that love and have trains. That was a great thing to bring up. Yeah.
Because they're all at that age.
Red Line Train Depot on Cape Horn Road, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just remember somebody else talking about it. I have not personally been in there, so I don't like to.
That's a museum, but I don't know if they would take.
Oh, okay.
They might be able to give you an idea of the value.
Right.
The
Or
value.
someone that
Yes,
would.
yes.
And where's it at?
Cape Horn.
Cape Horn Road, Red Line.
3265 Cape
I'm
Horn.
wondering if that's actually
Cape Horn Road and what? I live there.
Red Lion.
Red Line. I live out there, so.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking, unless it's not the same place I'm thinking of, but the one I'm
That's right
thinking
off the
of would
machine,
almost
I think.
be, I would feel it would be Main Street, like it's up.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Oh, that's a museum.
But that,
Sold. There we go. Maybe that's what we should do the next one. Everybody bring something you want to sell, right? There you go. Swap them. That is true.
There's a big train show coming in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling. There's so many. Trains is one of those places. There's a lot of places you can go to find out. Even
Orange boxes going out, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
yes, a lot. Actually, even if an auction advertises that they have trains, it will get more people. So honestly, if you're looking to, that draws people from all around. And that's the one I saw a young kid. I don't see it a lot, but there was a younger person actually starting that too, which is one of the few things you don't find collectors, but that was a time, and he was, he had just a little bit of money and he was trying to build his collection. So thank you for bringing trains up. Yeah.
we just don't have room, but my son would if he'd have.
Yeah.
Set up, but we don't.
Yeah.
He has
Which
it,
is
but-
probably why it holds its value, that they keep, because it is something even the next generations are doing a little about.
There isn't a book of collectibles, so you would go through and find out if anything you have would fall under any of the categories.
Of what's a collectible.
Produced every year, so you can get the latest
Oh,
version.
there is one?
There's a book, you can go at almost any book place, there'll be a publication that has collectibles, and it gives the latest prices on all of them.
Library would probably have it too.
That's one of my problems. I don't know what to throw away.
And what to keep, yeah. And I would say start your sorting, start putting some things where it is, and then you can start to do your research. Like you said, you can look for a book. The internet is a great resource now. Like you said, you can at least see what's stuff listed on eBay, what's it listed for. You can use that, what I have, and talk to some folks. I have these, do they sell? There's a nice lady, now she's over in Lancaster, but sometimes I'll call her and say, I have a family that has this. What are your thoughts? Is that something that you think could sell for? Just to give people an idea.
Did you say you have the business of doing this?
Basically what my business is, I don't handle selling for folks. I help you with where do I start? That's kind of what I do. So I go in, and like I said, I forgot you guys missed the beginning, I'm sorry. So I help people with all kind of the different aspects of downsizing. So some of my folks are in the process of moving, so that we have to go very quickly, you know, and so we go through, this is going to be coming with me, this is going to be, you know, so I help them do the sorting part. I can help, if you are moving, I help box things. And interestingly enough, I have a lot of folks, and I'm excited about this right now, that are just trying to get this process started now. Again, it will help in the long run, and I think, you know, even though they're not moving, they're feeling better about the way their houses are. I think there's something to be said, even when I just clean my closet, there's something to be said for, oh my gosh, I can now find where the sweater was instead of having to dig through everything. And it was one thing, I got started in this business because I helped my in-laws with this move. And it was hard for them. It's like probably a good way to kind of wind things down. It was hard. It was a lot of stuff. They knew they had to make the move because my mother-in-law had MS, and they lived out in the country, and a lot of land, a lot of stairs, things like that. So even knowing that, it was still emotional. It was, they built this home, they raised their kids. So I think there's so many things that come into play other than just the physically going through this process. And when we were finished, I was like, wow, that was a good move for them, but it was a lot. And had it not been, I was able to help them a lot with that. I'm not sure, they said over and over we weren't sure what we would do. And I wondered if there were other folks that, you know, could use an extra set of hands. And that's basically what I am. You know, I'm sort of an extra set of hands to get started. You know, I can help make phone calls to get things picked up for if you're donating.
You know, you're right about we're doing this, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, I can see this needs to be done. But we're even doing that in preparing for our, when we die, to make sure that our caskets are it's paid for so that the kids don't have to.
Yeah,
do it.
that's.
And that moving thing is it's like I don't want to have my kids have that burden.
Oh.
You know, I don't want them to have that burden.
Wow. Everybody feels different about that. Yeah.
I think it's overwhelming too. Like for me, it's very like just being, you know, on the other end of it, like having young kids still, and just. But it's
absolutely.
But the house is not functional, and that's frustrating to me.
Yes.
Like, because of
yes.
I say, oh well, we don't have storage, but it's like I'm constantly decluttering and getting rid of stuff out.
Yes.
And I'm trying not to bring more in, but it's like, it makes
it's hard with kids.
Clean.
Yes.
Because it's not
stuff's
functional.
everywhere.
It's just like, you know, like I have a nice sized kitchen, but I'd say it's half, you know.
Yeah.
Because of stuff.
Yes. Kitchens get very full of things that we're not using too.
They have small bedrooms, so I'm like, okay, we're gonna clean out the closets in the bedroom, and now it's in the hallway.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, and it's a problem. Like I moved about 3 years ago, and there's still
boxes. That's the other piece.
That are not opened, that are sitting in my kitchen, and I opened them and I looked in there and I'm like, oh, it's like there's cookie sheets and stuff and baking stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm not using it, but yet I don't want to just donate the whole box. I'm like, I need to go through it and sort it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, when do you find this motivation and time? And then I get like depressed.
Especially when you have
right
young kids into yeah. Well, and I think that's a good point though. If you've got boxes and things that you haven't touched in years, I think you can assume that you don't necessarily need them because it's been years. So that would be a very good place to start. But go through it. Don't just throw things away. Don't just donate. Definitely look through it because, as you said, there might be something valuable in there that you didn't realize. But keeping in the back of your mind, okay, I haven't used this, I need to find some place that it should go.
I saw a thing on Today's Show.
Ah,
A woman made a
please.
comment. Throw those boxes away.
Oh, don't even look.
And most likely, if you really need it, you can buy it for $15 or less within 2 miles of your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I moved here,
yeah.
my wife passed away, and I moved out here.
Yeah.
The night before settlement,
No, I
I had
didn't
a
hear
dump
that.
truck and a half taken out of my attic.
Yes.
And I said,
Attics are one of those places, yes.
Nothing goes in the attic, because if you have to put it in the attic,
You're not wanting it, no. I mean,
my house is my attic, so that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Like,
I downsized to a
I'm
3-bedroom,
in a
2-bathroom.
yeah.
But you know what sold me on the house? The kitchen has 20 cupboards.
oh, beautiful.
Hey, I have some empty. It's embarrassing. I have some empty drawers and cupboards, but I have boxes.
Yes. So it's finding the time.
And it's yeah, and it's a process I'm having some issue with. So
Okay.
yeah.
When you say go through something,
Yeah.
a drawer.
Yes.
You mean empty it?
Yes.
And then, so go through it means not go through it with the
Whatever
stuff.
works. The drawer should be,
Medicine cabinet,
all of that
just
should be empty.
out.
Put back in the things that you use.
Okay.
Throw away the things that you don't. And then, not in drawers and stuff, there's usually not a whole lot that you're going to donate or do, but there may be, I don't know. But yes, that's exactly everything out.
Everything out.
Everything out. Which I said is what's hard because it's going to create a mess.
Right. That's
And
what
especially if you have kids,
Especially if you're
sitting there younger.
ADHD.
Right, that's, yeah, thank you so much for everybody for coming. I hope that you got something out of it. I appreciate everybody's feedback too on different resources that they have found too. Yeah, that's great. I do just a free consultation where I come and we talk and we say, okay, this is what you want to do. And then we kind of figure out how long, you know, or what it is, and then we go from there as far as what you guys need to do. And
So you charge hourly?
yeah,
or by
basically
project, or-
it's hourly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're moving, that I can bring boxes and the packing paper and stuff like that, as well as different resources that I have for you. So, but I kind of talk to everybody on an individual, depending on what their needs are. Okay?
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.